Good evening. My name is John Shaughnessy. I am an independent researcher, author, inventor, and I authored the book Pyramid Gravity Force, which I'll be getting into a little bit here. I wanted to first thank Judy for having me, and all the previous speakers that have come and put on a great show. Just a huge download anyways, a lot of information, a lot of answers for questions that I've had, you know, over the years. I got them answered this last 2 days anyways. I'll be going over ancient geoengineering outline, gravity source and control, the dimensions of gravity and lensing, a lot of the technology behind pyramids that I believe is, you know, same thing with magnifying glass. There's lensing going on. If you look at your glasses on your table, your candy dishes, and you'll see some bright lights on your focal points on the tablecloths. That's lensing going on right now, just the limited light you have in here. Just to give you a little, you know, something that's tangible. And alignments between pyramids and volcanoes, alignments between Earth's mountain ranges, Type 3 society technology, densitogram on the Great Pyramid of Giza, the moon, tectonic plate and magma currents blocking magnetic north and the true north. There's my book right here. I could have just stopped at the cover and just put a bunch of blank pages in there. It would have been a lot easier because it basically states it all right here. You don't even have to open up the book. So the gravity of the moon's pulling on, you know, geometrical mass above the ellipsoid. But anyway, we'll read through it. And the 7 major factors of ancient geoengineering: the sun, earth, volcanoes, magma currents, pyramids. The biggest tour de force gravity player of them all is the moon, and of course gravity itself. The moon's like the V8 engine under the hood for the whole planet. So we'll get into that, and it has been a major success in theoretical physics in the last 2 decades. Hopefully mine will be the next one. We'll see what happens. Science not about certainty. Science is about finding the best reliable way of thinking at the present level of knowledge. Newton thought of himself as a philosopher and started by discussing this with Descartes and had strong philosophical ideas. All mass is translucent in the dimensions of gravity. So if you're looking at a mountain or a pyramid or whatever, you can you know, basically think of it as a clear magnifying glass in the subatomic world, and you know, the particles are flowing in and out of it, and a lot of times there's focal points set up inside these mountains, pyramids, and volcanoes, as we'll see. All of the Earth's large pyramids and volcanoes line up 180 degrees from each other and on the same approximate latitude. There's a little, you know, diagram, or an overview of the poles, the polar caps looking down on, you know, most of the continents, except for down and under. I don't have it put out that far, but there's a couple of big alignments here. I think most of you are probably familiar with, and they're straight lines. They're 180 degrees opposed to each other, and Egypt's Nile Valley Pyramid lines up with the Hawaiian hotspot. China's Shen pyramids line up with the Bermuda extinct super caldera. There's actually two super calderas that make up the Bermuda Island. You might want to, you know, think going out there again. I don't know. It's quiet. Mexico, Pyramid of the Sun, and Sri Lanka lines up with Sri Lanka's Mount Sigiriya. Has an extinct volcano. And again, this is 180 degrees opposed to each other and on the approximate same latitude. So the way I kind of got into this theory, this discovery, I was sitting in I was actually in the living room, and TV was on. I kind of walked into the living room, and this gentleman by the name of Makio Aku, he's a physicist, Japanese-American physicist. He's on TV. He's got a lot of books. He's great author, a brilliant physicist, and he basically asked the question, what are all the pyramids for? Like, you know, we still don't have a defined answer as to what the pyramids do. And I was in motions, you know, falling back into my chair, and then I have a globe across the room, and it was about 15 feet away. It was a floor-mounted atlas, so I was just the thought came into my head. I go, geez, I wonder what's on the other side of Giza, you know. So I took the big journey across the room and spun the globe. And there was Giza the Hawaiian Islands were out in the middle of the Pacific. It's 180 degrees opposed to each other approximately, and approximately on the same latitude, although the Hawaiian Islands are a little lower than the Nile Valley pyramids, but it's right on the money of a mountain range in the Sudan that's on the same latitude. So then I started to you know, get into other alignments, started to looking at other pyramids, and you know, it was a real anomaly. It's like just every large pyramid on the planet, or cluster of pyramids on the planet, lined up with a volcano. I said, well, geez, that's strange. So you know, off I went, and that was basically the foundation of my book and my discovery. It kind of fell into place here. So there's other alignments, DANTA and El Tigre pyramids in Elmira, Guatemala, and the NICOBAR. They line up with the NICOBAR Islands in the Indian Ocean, and there's a few other alignments there too. So I'm going to get, there's more images. So there's the Giza Plateau Pyramid, the Hawaiian Islands. You know, it's they have the you know, the Orion Belt signature there, and so do the Hawaiian Islands. They kind of got a little bit of a dog leg there. The Bosnian pyramid lines up with an island that's about 400 miles northwest of the last small island on the Hawaiian chain, 180 degrees opposed to that, and on the same approximate latitude also. So there's, you know, it's, I'll get into it. I don't want to get all over the place. We'll just go into these alignments right now. The Sun Pyramid Complex lines up with Mount Sigiriya in Sri Lanka. Now this extinct volcano, it actually is shaped like it's got a magma plug that is shaped like an elongated skull. And on the base of this volcano, there's huge carved claws. I think they might be bird claws or something to that nature, and they're you know, on scale with the Great Pyramid of Giza's. I mean, not the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Sphinx, the Great Sphinx paws. They're just out of place, out of time, and there's not a lot of information as to who put them there, why they're there, and when. We got the Shen pyramids in China, lined up with the Bermuda Island, and you know, there's some big pyramids in the Shen. I think it's Xi'an, part of eastern China. And I think a couple of months ago I read an article that they found an ocean of fresh water under these pyramids up there. So this in this section here, and this is Bermuda. I know it's a little bit of a, you know, another anomaly where you have a straight line of pyramids here, and you know, you get this straight line on the floor of the ocean. I just pointed that out. I don't really have an explanation for that, but I do. You know, these pyramids do line up with the Bermuda Island, 180 degrees opposed to each other. I think this one's almost exact 180 degrees opposed to each other, and on the same approximate latitude. The new pyramid that they found underwater, the Azores pyramid, it's a perfect pyramid-shaped structure discovered. I haven't heard too much more about that in the news lately, but so like every pyramid I see, I go to the globe and I spin it and try to see if there's a volcano on the other side, and this one lines up with the Tamu massive underwater volcano. It's actually the largest volcano on the planet, and it rivals Olympus Mons on Mars as the second largest pyramid in the solar system. I don't know how to figure that out, but that's what they tell us anyways. Like I said before, you had Dante, El Tigre pyramids. These pyramids are huge. They're 1,000 feet, over 1,000 feet high. You know, they got a base footprint of 800 to 900 feet in one direction, and they've been basically superimposed on this picture because the jungle has taken them over. There's, you know, trees and you know, just overgrown. So they kind of, you know, you need an army to get in there and remove the jungle just to do some serious research on them. But again, they line up with the Andaman and the Nicobar Islands. This right over here, and this is in the Indian Ocean, over by one of the largest subduction zones in Indonesia, the Sumatra subduction zone.
Would you explain that, please? Subduction?
Subduction zone is where the plates basically lap under each other, and technology is, from what I understand, is that these pyramids were built for you know, geoengineering purposes, to keep a plate soft and malleable with magma currents, which I'll get in a little bit later. But this is a gravity snapshot of the Earth. It was done by the European Space Agency, and I think their satellites are still up there. I'm pretty sure they're still using them to do work. And I just wanted to point out that the lowest gravitational field on the planet is right at the tip of Sri Lanka, or in the Indian Ocean, and it's like 180 degrees away from the largest cluster of pyramids on the planet, from the Yucatan down to the northern tip of South America. I think it's like over 300 pyramids in this location. And blue's the lowest, and you know, red being, or the orange being a higher gravitational field. So there's, you know, I'm just building up, you know, some evidence, if you will, on my theory. Now, to back this up, I looked at the natural environment, the natural world, and come to find out, not only do pyramids line up with volcanoes, large pyramids line up with volcanoes, mountains line up with mountain ranges around the planet. So there's some kind of gravity has like an equilibrium mechanic in it. It's a self-balancing mechanism, if you will, in gravity. So we'll go over these mountain ranges here, and the mountain ranges line up with mountain ranges 180 degrees from each other and on the same approximate latitude. Like, a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about is unbeknownst to the geophysics community, or geotheoretical physics community, or geologists. It's fairly new. That you know, so it's you're getting it hot off the press, really. So. We're working on getting published. I got bounced out a few times because I used the pyramid word, and it just freaked right out. Any you know, any decent you know, the journal Science over in England there, the physics. I got through a couple of rounds with the referees until they saw the pyramid word. So I'm going to pull out the pyramid word and just use the mountain word and see how that goes. But anyways. Moving on, it's 180 degrees opposed from each other on the same approximate latitude. The Himalayas tie into the Sierra Nevadas, the Rockies and the Appalachian Mountains. The North Andes tie into Indonesia, Singapore, Sumatra and Bali Islands down there. Australia ties into South America. And a little typo there. Antarctica is great. It ties into Antarctica. There's like mountains and that line up with mountains on that particular continent. Africa and Europe tie into submerged mountains in the North and South Pacific. So when we go into an ice age, those land masses basically become uncovered as the water levels lower. And then you have an alignment with those two, with that continent. Let's see. I mean, Mount Kailash, I think, ties into, it's in the Himalayas, and that ties into, a little off topic, that ties into Yellowstone's super caldera. So it's like 180 degrees away from it and on the approximate same latitude. I believe that was built to keep that beast in check so it doesn't blow, and so we can, you know, enjoy the utopia that we live in today. So there was some ancient geoengineering going on long time ago. I'm slicing up the planet here to give you an idea of how gravity actually works, and it's you know, it's like cutting a tomato, really. And basically, just to give you a visual, you put a mountain over here on this side of this slice, you're going to lower the gravitational field on this side of the slice, and it's either a volcano is going to rise up, or you know, a mountain is going to, you know, come into existence. There's going to be some kind of a balancing act going on with that particular latitude. So they're all latitude lines. All this, it all balances out in latitudes and until the equator. So all mass above the northern part of the equator is, you know, affects the northern part of the equator. The southern part of the hemisphere affects the southern part of the hemisphere. It's like the planet split in two, you know. So the gravitational field just basically ejects out at the equatorial plane, just like the rings of Saturn. If you can envision that, it's like, but it's below the surface. This kind of gives you a nice little visual. I'm glad I worked on that thing all night long trying to get that to upload. So, well, this is the evidence that shows how gravity actually works on the planet. You have a moon high tide, and then you have a moonless high tide. You know, that's always been a stumbling block for a lot of the physics community. For years it was cast that centripetal forces that was throwing the ocean out, and then that got tossed out the window because that didn't work. And then they got into some other theories that, well, if you're pulling the water here, this thins it out, and then the water kind of bulges up on the moonless side of the planet. But what's actually happening is, you know, this outer line here is a gravity bubble, and you're flexing the gravitational field from the axis, the center of the planet. And when you pull it over towards the moon, you're lowering the gravitational field on the moonless side, and the ocean waters rise. And that's kind of what's going on with pyramids and mountains. You see this every day. You're feeling it every day if you're on the ocean. You have high tides on land too. When the moon goes over the land actually rises up under your feet. So too does the groundwater tables and whatever else is under the ground, magma. Well, just everything really. So, of course, you don't feel it, but it's a large areas that goes. You know, the diameter is like 6,000 to 7,000 miles in diameter when you get the high tide. It's a big bulge, so it's not a pinpoint, small area. So like at the Great Lakes, you think, well, why isn't the Great Lakes have high tides? Because the land around it's going up with the Great Lakes. You might catch a little bit. There is a little bit of, you know, tidal action. Yeah, there's a little bit, but a message from a Type 3 society, one that controlled its environment by harnessing gravity. You've seen these symbols the last couple of days, flower of life, pyramids, you know, it's not a real good rendition of the moon up there, but it's close enough. Type 3 society, there was a gentleman by the name of Kardashian, probably not pronouncing that properly, and he came up with a measurement of societies, and it basically is based on energy output, and we're about 100 years from becoming a Type 1 society, Type 3 being the top. So You know, that's, it's just a scale that they use to measure the